J is for Justice. I am your host, Jay, and welcome to my channel. Hope everyone is having a great 4th of July weekend. Staying safe out there. Don't blow off any fingertips or anything crazy. But tonight we have a very special guest. Not only do we have Potato, she's very special, but we have someone that is a little more special than Potato, if you can believe that. And we have Mr. William Steele with us, author William Steele. How you doing, William?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome to the show. So William has a lot going on that he's going to share with us. He's going to give us a little brief rundown of his background, who he is, how he got to know Ghislaine, if I'm saying that right. I think it's Ghislaine.
I couldn't pronounce it either. I used to call her G.
You called her G?
Yeah.
I was reading earlier, there was her brother came out during the trial and he was pissed that people were calling her Ghislaine and not Ghislaine. And he corrected it and it was in the paper. I was like, holy shit. I don't know if that was a mistake, Ian.
That sounds like a bad movie in the making right there.
Yeah, it sure does. Welcome to all the moderators that are here tonight. Thank you in advance for sharing William's links during this live stream. But without further ado, let's turn it over to William and what you got.
Well, you asked me to introduce myself. I'd say that I'm from Brooklyn, New York, originally. Middle-class family. I grew up always wanting to be a James Bond type figure, Mission Impossible and all that. And I went to school and I studied and I became a locksmith and alarm technician, safe and vault technician. And my mother was mentally ill, so I was raised with a mentally ill parent who I defended throughout my life. And she was bullied and all that, so I would always come to her defense. So it was like ingrained in me to be a defender of others or an advocate for others, for mentally ill, for women, for crime victims, which is a lot of what we do now. Unfortunately, my life, I got into real estate for a while in New York as well. My life took a real bad turn when a friend died and I tried cocaine to self-medicate. And I got hooked on coke pretty bad. But all during those years, 80s and 90s, when, there was a lot of cocaine around, and I ended up going to prison in New York, Florida, Virginia, even in Las Vegas. But during these years, I was trafficking in kilos of cocaine and guns, from South Florida to New York and other locations. And I was also doing super high-end burglaries. I was hitting places from South Florida out to California, Vegas, usually multi-million-dollar mansions, gated communities, and I was very good at what I did. I always worked alone, and I became a notorious jewel and art thief, aside from cocaine trafficker, drug trafficker. And
so you worked alone doing all of this?
I never took a partner because I didn't trust anybody. It's nobody to tell on you. Nobody knew what I was doing.
You had to worry about anybody else, yeah.
Right. So I worked alone. I had a lot of offers from various organized crime figures in New York who knew what I did and my capabilities, and they would offer things for me to do, like, hey, this nightclub, there's a safe there, there's $2 million, in cash in that safe. Well, I didn't want to take a job from anybody else and help them get in a safe where as soon as they get the loot, I get a bullet in the back of my head.
Right.
Because I'm expendable. So I recognized that. So I made plenty of money on my own, and I did this all across the United States. And a lot of times, unfortunately, I would pose as a buyer for high-end houses, and I would pose as the fashion designer Donna Karen's brother. And I would say that she's doing a fashion show in London, and we're looking for houses in South Florida. We're looking for a house, whatever it was, Laguna Beach when I was out in California. And I would tour these houses, multi-million-dollar houses, and then film them back in the day and say that I was going to send a clip to my sister, but I was casing the houses. And I'd go back and I'd have, all the information about the house. And I was hitting houses like this all over the country. So fast forward, I ended up doing significant amount of time. I did 18 years essentially for nonviolent crimes. And it never really got help. I asked for help because a lot of why I kept involved with that was I was using a lot of coke. I was making a lot of money, but I was using a lot of coke. I don't drink. I don't do anything else. I was using coke. Never got help. Every time I turned around, they were sending me to prison. So either violation of parole or going back to prison. I finally I escaped from prison, made it onto America's Most Wanted website. I was on there, and I got a lot more time for that. I got 15 more years consecutive to what I was serving. So
Oh
I
man.
got so much time. And then my mother passed away when I was in prison. I had a
Oh
fallout with
no.
family. So I turned my life around while I was in prison, not because of prison, because it's a horrible environment that offers you nothing, but I was able to get involved with fighting for college programs to come in. And I took some college courses, and I got involved with ministry in the chaplain's office, and started really changing my heart to back to what I was in the beginning of my life, my teens and
Mm-hmm.
my childhood, defending other people and really helping people. And I started helping guys in prison, understanding the law, understanding the programs. I became an advocate for prisoners while I was incarcerated. And I started writing books. It was going to be about my life, and then certain chapters were going to be about some of the infamous people I met along the way. And several more books coming out. But anyway, I decided then when one of them was really hitting the news a lot, I talked to my co-author, and he said, just write a book about that. And I got working with him, and then I was working with an A-list screenwriter in Los Angeles, Bettina Gilois. She passed away now from cancer. But we were working on this book about Robert Durst and how I knew him and all how I came to know him.
Mm-hmm.
And that book came out while I was still in prison. And then the book about Ghislaine, I put out, I don't know, I think it was December. So that's the story about me. And now that I'm out, I've been out 14 months. I have, if you go to official William Steele YouTube channel, Instagram, somehow I picked up 11,000 followers and I'm like getting nonstop interview requests. And just before I got released from prison, my PR rep, the main one, Tom Madden, he owns Transmedia in Florida, introduced me to my beautiful fiance, Dr. Mary Bass. I get out, we're engaged. She's also like a crime victim advocate and helping the wrongfully incarcerated. And so
Congratulations on your engagement.
thank you.
Yes,
So
congratulations.
just after meeting her, while I was still incarcerated, I was offered a TV show, which I wasn't allowed to talk about it until 3 days ago. So now the press release and trailer went out from the network. I can freely talk about it. I can't give away anything, but I can tell you it's on A&E Network and it's going to air August 18th, and you can go to official William Steele on YouTube and see the trailer, or on the A&E website. If you Google it, it's coming up on all the entertainment media right now. So it's a TV show called Inmate to Roommate, and it's about their transition from prison incarceration into, initially I was living with a lady who was a friend of mine, like a pen pal for years, because I had falling out with my family over an inheritance. I didn't want to go back to New York or South Florida. So I came to Indiana and lived with a family, and it's about getting back on your feet and trying to deal with people you barely know until you can't deal with it anymore, or you can, or whatever. So it really looks at reentry and recidivism and stuff like that. And it's going to be a good series, which I encourage everybody to check out the trailer that's on my
Yeah, the
YouTube
trailer
channel.
link, you guys, is in the description of the video below. And you guys can check that out. I'm excited to watch it. I think you're a very interesting individual with a very unique story to share.
I appreciate it. It's not.
Hmm.
I think they say the days of darkness has caused me to see the light. I've had it with prison. We were locked down during the beginning of COVID for like a year. I gained a lot of weight, and I just felt like losing my mother and just all the misery that I experienced.
It's a
You look
lot.
back and you're like, right, it's a lot. So I just
So you
decided to
just got out like 14 months ago?
I've been out 14 months.
I didn't realize that. I thought that it was longer ago that you got out.
Nope, it was 14
Good for
months ago.
you. Well, you've been a mover and a shaker since you got out.
Maybe a little
So,
longer, maybe 15 or something, but it's all been coming to me, and I look at it because my heart, I have a very strong faith in God, and I really think that my heart's in the right place and trying to go back to where I started, was doing the right thing. I got completely derailed because of a cocaine problem years ago.
hmm
And so I appreciate all the support and love that I'm getting
and you
from,
can admit that, I mean, you are a testimony to you can change your life around. You can do better.
yeah,
So,
I picked up so many good friends and mentors. Gary Greenberg was one of the editors of the National Enquirer. He was co-author on my first book. Tom Madden was vice president, of NBC TV. He's like my best friend and mentor right now, and my PR guy on my books. The network, assign me a whole PR team.
How'd you meet all these guys?
My attorney is super famous. You may know this guy. You see that?
Peter, I don't know who he is.
Peter Tickton wrote this book he wrote about Donald Trump. He went to military academy with Donald Trump. And
he's your lawyer?
He's my attorney, and
wow.
he's become a mentor and a real strong supporter and friend. And he's actually recently filed a racketeering lawsuit against Hillary Clinton. He's representing Donald Trump right
Lord.
now.
Wow.
Oh, against a whole bunch of people. I try to myself stay out of politics, although I do lean one way. But the most incredible people have come into my life and have helped, because I think trying to hide it and stay miserable about my past is like the worst way to approach this. It's not easy telling some of the stories I'm writing about, because it does bring back a lot of bad memories of addiction and loss and family loss and and things that have happened to me or things I've done. I'm a non-violent offender, but I've stolen millions of dollars of things from other people.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough thing to admit to the world, really, essentially. But I want to say sorry for the loss of your mom, because I lost my mom and my dad in the last 3 years, so I feel you. It's never easy, and so I'm really sorry to hear that. But I am happy that you have good things going on,
Right. Everything happens for a purpose. If they didn't play out the way they did, I would have never met Tom Madden. I never would have met my fiance, because she was trying to represent an incarcerated client, David Michael Reinhart. You can go to his website, davidmichaelreinhart.com. And he's a California prisoner that was set up to steal a $400 million inheritance from him by a probate fraud ring in Fresno, California. So we connected. He said, "Hey, I have an incarcerated client who is a friend and he's an author." And Tom introduced us, and we fell in love. And I didn't have to get out of prison looking for a girlfriend. See, God brought.
Oh my God!
Like this.
Sorry to that.
It made it easy on you,
right? Because who the hell wants to take a chance on a prisoner, and hopefully she doesn't regret it.
Well, she's with you, so, and she's helping you. So, I would have to say she's in for the long haul, right, William?
Yes, it's shaking her head. Yes, I think
she is. I think I'm sure she is. I'm sure she is. But I appreciate your honesty and your transparency when it comes to everything that we're going to talk about tonight, because it is serious. It's very serious, and we all here. We follow true crime and we follow all these court cases, and we have all just been just stunned at the whole Ghislaine trial and everything that went on with Jeffrey. And I want to know, how did you meet Ghislaine and Jeffrey, and who did you meet first, and how did it all transpire?
All right. Now, don't forget, the book is behind me. It took a lot to write it. Ghislaine, Sensational and Pure, on Amazon. Now,
if you want to know the story, buy the book.
Well, no, because I'm revealing a little bit more in interviews as I feel comfortable. And as my attorneys tell me, it's safe.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people that are telling what I know have already turned up dead. And I can go over some names, in another way. But there's other people that have literally been dead. So when you're talking about people like the Clintons and Prince Andrew and all that, you run a lot of risk.
I don't want to talk about them. I just want to talk.
Right. So how I met them, and I detail, again, in the book, years ago when I was dealing with different fences around the country. A fence is somebody who's buying stolen property. I dealt with a lot of jewelers all across the United States. And in Palm Beach, on Worth Avenue, I had a fence in a diamond salon. I'm not going to name him, but when I was upstairs in his diamond salon, with stolen jewelry, I had a gun. I used to carry guns all the time, really for effect. Like if I was running coke or I had a lot of jewelry with me, I open my briefcase, somebody sees a gun in there or on me, and a lot of times I had silencers to give the appearance that, don't mess with me, because I was a loner. I didn't do anything with anybody, so I didn't have a lot of backup. But I had the image of this guy I was portraying at the time. And so I'm in there, and I see at the other counter is who I now know to be Jeffrey Epstein, and he's got a young girl with him. She looks about 13. and she looked like a Taxi Driver era Jodie Foster. She could have been twins with Jodie Foster, perfect lookalike. And he's got his hands down the back of her shorts while my friend who owns the diamond salon, and this is not some run-of-the-mill small jewelry store. It's a major. They sell gigantic diamonds for very wealthy people in Palm Beach and worldwide. So I'm waiting for him to wait on me and hopefully take this stolen stuff off my hands. And I see this, and that's how I ran into Jeffrey Epstein. I was livid immediately. I told my friend I'll be right. When he left, I told my friend, I'll be right back. And I followed him to a restaurant up Worth Avenue, and I actually confronted him in a restaurant about what was going on. And I think one of my lights just went out here.
I know, that was kind of creepy. But we're talking about Jeffrey, too.
I think Jeffrey or the Clintons or somebody pulled the plug.
I don't mean to scare you, William, but we had another guest on here, and her lamp was doing that to us one night.
Yeah. It's kind of strange to happen again.
Yeah, it is a little strange. But you're good. We can still see you.
There's a lot I've actually learned since, Jeffrey's arrest that I didn't know at the time, that I sensed and saw, and I wasn't an idiot. Besides that incident, and I detail it in the book. Again, I'm not going to go into the whole story here, but I confronted him, and I actually, when he got to be a smartass with me, and I detected his Brooklyn accent. Well, I'm from Brooklyn. And so we kind of hit it off at that level, and I let him see the gun under the table. And I said, what the F was going on? Now, I was with an illegal gun. I was wanted by the police. I had stolen jewelry with me. I wasn't really in a position to call the cops about what I saw at that moment, but he talked his way out of it, and then I went over to her. I said, you sit your ass here, and I went to the other table and spoke to her. I said, look, in the jewelry store, I saw, what he was doing. That's just my uncle. We play around like that. They had their story straight if somebody, I guess, confronted them.
They were already prepared.
When he realized I was following him, maybe, I don't know. But, yes, they were already prepared, and I said, well, that's still inappropriate. How old are you? And she said she was 18, but there's no way she was 18. So she was lying for him. I was in no position to call the cops. And anyway, so he ended up giving me his number. I told him I was a jewelry dealer or whatever. And he eventually, over time, was buying some jewelry, I think just to keep me quiet. Because I said to him, there's video camera all in that place, and you're on camera, what you did. And my friend owns that place, which I shouldn't have said, because he could have went there and gave him, $50 grand to get the tapes from that day. But, I foolishly said that tapes are going to exist if you're doing this. And he got really paranoid that I was going to immediately call the cops or something. And so we stayed in touch, and I met with him over time. And
was this before he had ever gotten in any trouble at all for the girls?
Before, yeah. This is
okay.
I want to say late 90s, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going back quite a few years.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. So then there was many instances of me dealing with him and seeing different activity. And as time progressed, I met Ghislaine at the Palm Beach house in El Brillo Way, I think is the street. And one thing led to another. It's in the book. I'm not going to go into too much detail here. What we did, and I, messed around with her as adults, consensual adults,
right?
And threesomes with other adults that were assistants to her. Now,
is that in the book?
I detail some of that in the book. Yes.
Okay, you guys.
It's not easy talking about it with my fiance listening in.
I know.
She tells me go ahead and tell the story but yeah, I don't think I need to go.
I was like, oh, Mary's listening. I don't know if I want to ask, but is it in the book? Everybody likes the juicy details, Mary.
She says she's the first to admit that. But so I'm a little self-conscious about it.
I understand.
It started off consensual for quite a while. I mean, I could say a lot of things about how guys are and all that, obviously, but who's going to turn down, that situation?
Right.
So especially from an extremely wealthy person in a mansion in Palm Beach.
Right. It's the whole kit and caboodle you're getting.
Right. And I was living that life anyway, kind of the fast life, and they knew what I did. I was sort of dangerous person around them, but years later I learned out they were cooperating with intelligence agencies and all this other things came to light much later. But I already realized that they were way more dangerous than I was, and I wasn't fooling anybody to know that I needed to not really, get on their bad side, during those
For sure.
period. So fast forward, that was back in late 90s. And then fast forward, I was wanted again in 2005, which is the last time I saw Ghislaine. I actually went to that house to see him to try to get some assistance, which I explained some of this in the book. And she was there, and we went through the same routine as before. And then it was consensual until it wasn't. I don't know if you got a chance to read the whole book yet.
Not yet. That
No.
sounds
Okay. Well, there's a point where I'm restrained, and there's two women, and
oh my God.
threats involved, threatening to turn me in if I didn't help her try to find a way to dispose of Jeffrey at that time. What I learned later is he was already getting under investigation and about to be arrested.
She wanted to get rid of him.
Yes, she specifically said that Jeffrey's going to be the death of her, and I detail this in the book, the specifics.
Wow.
One of the things I really haven't started talking about until recently, and I've been through counseling over this several years ago, before all this blew up in the media, and so there's record of me trying to report this. Anyway, I told her what she wanted to hear to get out of the house alive, and I left with some things that I felt were incriminating, because Jeffrey beforehand had already showed me some videos. He was pissed off still. I guess he held a grudge for years, and what I was doing at that house. And he had a security detail guy there and him to try to intimidate me and terrorize me on another occasion, and showed me some videos. So I actually saw some of these videos, and you could tell that people didn't know they were being filmed. And I saw some extremely prominent people on video. Now, I can name the names. I can name the names and be legally appropriate, say allegedly. But how do you say allegedly when I know what I saw and who I saw in these videos?
Right.
It's like I'm kind of walking a tightrope here, because I know what I saw, I know they exist, and just like these female victims inspired me to come forward with my little bit of information, not only publicly but in my book and to authorities, it's been suppressed. Everything I turned into authorities has disappeared, completely disappeared. I don't know if it was relevant or not, but I'm pretty damn sure it was. And it's telling that the FBI Public Corruption Squad in New York City is the one investigating all this right now. Jeffrey and G, I used to call her G, they're not public officials. So why is the Public Corruption Squad involved? Can we say Clinton? Can we say Hillary? Can we say all these other prominent people that are on video? So has anybody stopped to consider that? Or that when I, having turned this information in and come forward to not only law enforcement but a counselor years ago, was ignored, completely ignored. And some of the female victims for decades, I think, was it Annie Farmer, was ignored since 97. She's been reporting these people. We're all ignored for all these years. And I know there's other male victims starting to come out now that were somehow know something or had problems with them or, were aware of what was going on. We're ignored all this time. I find it interesting that just before her sentencing, we submit victim impact statements for the case. And mine, they denied to accept mine. And I think Sarah Ransom, I just heard this recently, I think today or yesterday. They wouldn't even let her put one in. I don't know if that's accurate. It was a report I saw. I said, great, because I have the proof from the federal court. I submitted it. They refused it. I submitted it again. I asked them why, because my understanding is the rules of court, right up to the minute of sentencing, anybody can be heard if the judge chooses, but at least your report, your victim impact statement is supposed to make it into the case file. So he might have 200 of them and maybe only consider 4 or 5.
So they never filed it in with the case file? They just rejected it?
Well, they have it, but then they're saying, oh, it came in late. Well, what's late? It was in before sentencing.
Well, even if it came in after, throw it in there.
My book detailing a lot of this has been out since December. I've been doing interviews for 3 years now, before the book even came out. I'm in the Sun. I'm in the National Enquirer. So you didn't know I existed to at least consider, my victim impact statement and what I experienced at that house? I was restrained. I was saying it for like a day and a half in that house. I was held there and threatening me with turning me in or making it look like I did something at that house if I didn't help her. And then she mentioned a very prominent politician who swore she would never, ever get charged with any of the crimes that he was facing at that time if she took care of the Jeffrey problem. I didn't know they had all these intelligence agencies in their pocket, but she couldn't go to, I don't know facts about this. I'm going by what I've seen in the media since. Evidently, the Mossad and all these other agencies, she couldn't necessarily go to them to do this because he was helping them. They didn't want him dead, probably. So, because I had so much guns around and I was living in and out of a lot of illegal things, she thought it was okay to ask me. And it's not the first person that's asked me to have somebody killed. I can show you proof that several people have asked me, including a guy here in town who was just arrested by the FBI. And he tried to sell, my fiance is in remission for leukemia. He tried to sell us a fake cure for her leukemia and tried to sell us a house he didn't own. He's done this to several people. It's alleged that he killed his girlfriend, Trina McCreary, when she turned in a cell phone to the FBI that made the case, and he was a corrupt federal informant. So he wanted my help when he found out I was out of prison, a little bit about my background, if I could eliminate witnesses for him. So it's not the first time, but it's because
William,
I have a really good heart.
Crazy.
I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I have a good heart. But because of the way I carry myself, and they think I'm always dabbling in illegal things, I'm the guy that some people have asked over the years.
They think you're up for anything.
Right. So it's just one thing after the other. So this is what happened. It's the last time I basically got out of that house with my life. I never saw either one of them again. All of a sudden, a few months later, I don't even remember where I was, incarcerated somewhere. It's exploding in the media. I'm like, holy crap, he really did get arrested, and then I couldn't believe the deal he got in Palm Beach. I'm like, are you kidding me? Well, with everything I turned in, he should be facing life because I was a law clerk in prison. I was a law clerk in Florida and New York, and I've helped out a lot of guys in other states. And so I know that just one count of what he was doing with minors, I think in Florida, it's under 12. A state thing is like a mandatory life sentence. So his preference was 13 to 14 years old, in that range, 15 maybe. Multiple counts, and I think they dropped 18 counts.
Yeah, didn't he get 18 months or something?
Right, and the stockade, which I've been in the Palm Beach County Jail.
Yeah, it was nothing.
Just nothing. And he was allowed to go to every day out to his mansion and his business and with his lawyers to Miami and this and that. And he was done in a few months, and they made this illegal deal. Now, if you look at the deal, the victims are trying to unravel the deal, that plea bargain at the time. I think there was a big story in the Miami Herald. Julie K. Brown did an expose called Perversion of Justice. And this is what reopened, she found all these other victims, and they didn't know about the deal. They were supposed to be notified, and they violated the law not notifying the victims that there was a sweetheart deal going on. Well, who was his attorneys? Allegedly, people that were on videos with minors at the house and had a vested interest in seeing him get a deal on that case and staying quiet. So the very same people involved with his illegal activities crafted this deal. Mm-hmm. And he got 18 months. And then
so scary.
Here's how the deal was screwed up. In Florida, the Southern District of Florida prosecuted him and made him this deal. I guess it was Acosta. It made this deal, authorized it because of him being able to afford 5 high-end lawyers who are allegedly on video. Wink, wink. So it's a sweetheart deal. They're all politically connected. They get him this deal. But what they didn't realize is as for all their wisdom and all the millions and tens of millions he probably gave these attorneys or telling them, look, I'll release the videos if you don't help me, whatever that deal was with them, they were so ridiculous that they didn't stop to consider that deal didn't cover his crimes in another jurisdiction, which is, the Southern District of New York. So that's where they finally locked him up, and they were going to get him. And he said, no, you have to drop this because I had this deal in place, never to be prosecuted federally. Okay, but your deal was only good in the Southern District of Florida. And that's why they went after him. And when he saw what they had and that he couldn't bond out, they claim he killed himself. I don't know. She told me then that even if he goes to jail, there's ways to get to him in jail. So she was in tears. She was, frantic.
Do you think he's dead?
I don't know. I said on one interview I think he's alive, but I just don't know. I don't know. It's just speculation.
I mean, you never know.
You never know. He's probably hanging out with Elvis and Bruce Lee and whoever else they think is
JFK and
Yeah, so
Interesting. So, D, do you have any questions?
D.
We're just going to I call her Potato. It just comes out.
Yeah, it's just
This
my
is
name.
fascinating, though, William.
It is. It's really interesting. So you said that you escaped prison. So how did you manage to escape prison? And did this all happen whilst you had escaped?
Well,
When you
I
met?
could say that I escaped from prison several times, but I would always go back, literally. But
Wow.
so I was it was nothing fancy. I'll say that. I was on a low custody detail, went somewhere, disappeared, knew they were going to do a search perimeter, and stole the meter reader's bike, rode off, got far, tried to get a ride. A lady gave me a ride. I told her, that my wife was in premature labor with our twins, and I locked my keys in the car. Can you give me a ride to the hospital? So a wonderful lady who I regret and I've apologized to since gave me a ride out of the search perimeter area, thinking she was taking me to the hospital. Then I stayed in somebody's condo, and I was there one day, and they somehow got word I was there, and the SWAT team was at the door, panic trying to get in the door, and I'm in there by myself. But I was a law clerk. I was a law clerk, and I knew the law. Without exigent circumstances, a warrant, or somebody saying concretely that I was in there, they couldn't breach the door, and the condo owner in Florida was out at the time. So I just stayed quiet while the SWAT team surrounding the place is a helicopter, and I waited them out. About 30 minutes, they left.
They went away?
Yeah, so the SWAT team, they all leave. They all leave, so I opened the door, and I put my hands, one in front of my face, because they could shoot escape prisoner. I put my hands like this, and I walked down the staircase, and I said, "Hey, don't shoot, I give up. I'm yelling this at the outdoor staircase. I want to get the hell out of there." And I figured at least if they see my hands like this, if they shoot me, they're in a lot of trouble because there's going to be bullet holes in my hands.
You had your hands up.
So I'm coming down the staircase like this. Don't shoot, I give up. I couldn't believe they all left.
Oh my God.
I got away. But I went for a walk about 30 minutes before that. And because the guy got suspicious of me that I was staying with, he said, "You seem like the kind of person who might want to read the newspaper this morning." I said, "Well, maybe just to look for some houses or the business section." But he said, "Well, at the front of the complex there's a machine. You might want to read the newspaper this morning," because I was all over the news for the thing.
Oh my God.
So he was putting two and two together, but he wasn't quite sure, if it was me.
Right.
But when he went to work, I took off and went to the thing. I put a little hat on, and as soon as I got outside the building, as far up in the sky as you can see was a helicopter hovering over this complex. This is in South Florida. And you're from South Florida. You know how it is. If there's something goes on down there, there's a million cops. They surround the area. They bring a dog. They bring a helicopter. It's a complete police state.
Yep.
Anyway, so up here, it's just the opposite. I'm not even going to get into it in a public forum, but this is like an open carry state. Everybody's armed to the teeth with guns.
Where are you now?
I'm in the Midwest, in Elkhart, Indiana, and Chicago areas, and I'm still filming some of the TV shows.
I'm from Michigan originally, so I'm not from Florida.
Elkhart is the RV capital of the world. They build all RVs in Elkhart.
Elkhart, Indiana.
Yep. For me, there's not much here other than I just happened to land here coming out, and then was involved with the show and some other stuff.
Hey, it's a nice, quiet little place, William. It sounds like it's a perfect place for you to be. Stay out of South Florida, William.
Yeah, my fiance says she has to take a family vote on any future friends I make.
I don't blame her.
I seem to run into a lot of serial killers and very, very corrupt, dangerous people, and because I talk to everybody, I'm just very gregarious, and I've also been in sales and marketing, so I just talk to everybody, and most people would rather not do that. But
like Robert Durst,
right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a weird one. Early '80s, ran into him in Midtown Manhattan. Crazy. And we actually bumped into each other, and my soda spilled on him, and he was with Susan Berman that very day. And I sort of went all over him, and I had a gun, and we threatened each other, and she and my friend talked the argument down. And then you'd have to read the other book. Where's that one? Sex and the Serial Killer, My Bizarre Times with Robert Durst.
Oh, Sex and the Serial Killer.
Right, My Bizarre Times with Robert Durst. Really, I like people to kind of ignore the title. It was a salacious title, sounded good at the time, but it's really about how my faith and how God help me navigate through all these dangerous situations I put myself in, and all these very dangerous people. Because when I stole some photographs and stuff from him that he entrusted to me, they would have been highly incriminating, and he threatened to kill me for these pictures back. And I detail some of that in that book. But I don't know how I got through these experiences, but anyway, I did. And
can I ask you a question about Ghislaine?
Right.
Like, what was she like? You know, okay, so this is what I'm wondering. When you would be around her and like whatever these girls that she was grooming or whatever she was doing, what was she like to them? Like, was she nice to them? Was she like catering to them? Was she like motherly to them, or was she a bitch? Like, how did she treat them?
It seemed like she could be very bitchy and controlling. However, she was very motherly, and to the few that I saw, I didn't know what was going on. They were saying that they were masseuses and they were models and they were...
Yeah, you were getting fed all these stories, right?
Right, I was getting... Yes, and I'm not stupid, so I was kind of putting two and two together. But until I saw those videos, there was no concrete proof.
So. Right. But so she seemed to kind of be stern, but also kind of do that motherly role to kind of, groom
very
them
controlling.
Or whatever.
She offered, if I wanted to have a threesome with any one of these women coming in and out, and I'm saying no, they all look underage, and that's not my
she
thing,
was just offering them up, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They wanted to catch me on video, and who knows, it might be video of her and I together, and her and her assistant, but certainly not with any minors. I'm not going to name the assistants right now because I'm not trying to open up pathway for litigation. So
right. No, it's just also fascinating. It really is.
Yep.
How long did you spend at Palm Beach Mansion?
Palm Beach, last time was 2005. Before that, on and off for probably dealing with him at various locations. Probably 2-year period, maybe.
Dang. And you said that you managed to escape. How did you get out of that situation? Because obviously Ghislaine was trying to keep you there. You said you were tied up and things. Like, how did
I agreed to go along with what she was. I agreed to go along with what she was asking for, and again, it's in the book.
to get rid of Epstein.
Yeah. Listen, this is really about advocating for the victims and getting back on my feet. And if I'm willing to put my life out there to tell these stories, it was a very hairy situation, and I had to tell her what she wanted to hear to get out of there. And it wasn't for several more hours before she even trusted me to be by myself in the room. And then I was able to get a few things. And one of the security detail or house people, whatever this guy was, he was knowing what was going on, I think, and he let me get the hell out of this house with what I had with me. And he knew it wasn't my stuff. He knew I was leaving with their stuff.
Dang. Did you ever talk with her about her upbringing or anything like that?
Yep, that's in the book.
Yeah.
It's in the book, but I'll tell you to go briefly, in tears, more than once she was explaining that her father taught her to please a guy to whatever he wants, whatever he's into, and was molesting her since she was a little child and trained her on all this, different sexual things that she was pretty proficient at, and that whatever. So
I was reading about her and her father, yeah.
Yeah, I detailed some of what she said in there, but she admitted that her father, had groomed her. She didn't use the word groomed. Had done things with her that taught her and instilled upon her the need to please whatever guy she's with and do whatever he wants. And so
I thought it was interesting, William, that it kind of like her relationship with Jeffrey was similar to her relationship with her dad.
Yeah, she found an extremely wealthy guy, and they were into the same things, or at least I don't know, maybe she was just faking it to stay with him. I don't know, but seemed like she was very much into doing these things also. And I know that there's a lot now. I know there's a lot of blackmail material out there that they compiled for personal use, for their own benefit, and for certain intelligence agencies that evidently he was dealing with. And that her father was dealing with as well. So I guess he was seen as some kind of national hero in Israel because he helped form the state of Israel and was helping them with smuggling weapons in to form the state of Israel.
Oh, wow.
I guess in the 40s, whatever. But he had very strong ties to Mossad. Several heads of Mossad came to his funeral. She would mention that, very briefly to me, but didn't detail it. Anything I learned about that in more detail came much later, since I said, well, who the hell was her father really? Why would she say this about him? And then I was like, holy crap, I could have been really killed, messing around with these people the way I was. And
for real.
For me being, a guy from New York, I think that I can get in and out of any situation. Maybe that was a little bit of arrogance or something, but I really had taken my life into my hands messing with them the way I was.
It's scary, William.
It is. Yeah, they're powerful people.
Looking back at it, and there's other people that want to interview me now. Certain things I haven't said to anybody yet, and I don't know that I will, publicly until law enforcement's done with all this and I can assist them. But there's other things going on right now. My understanding is several other prominent people are about to be arrested, and there's different rules in the federal system. One's a Rule 19, one's a 5K1. One of them allows for cooperation before sentencing, the other one allows for it after sentencing. And that she is cutting some sort of deal, which I can't get into, but there's probably several other prominent people going to be arrested. Now, the thing is, she may make a deal, this is just my speculation, to do that, maybe get her time cut to, say, 5 or 10 years served overseas in New Zealand or Australia or somewhere where she'd be relatively safer than here, in the States. I don't know. I don't know that they want her back in England, but they could probably make a deal with another country.
I don't know. Potato, do you guys want her back in England?
No, thank you. Go somewhere else.
She's like, you guys can keep her.
Yeah.
Have you read the book yet, Dee?
I haven't. No, I read the preview of it, but I haven't read the whole thing yet.
Google my name with Prince Andrew.
But I'm definitely going to.
Google William Stewart.
Yeah, I
Prince
have.
Andrew. And so you'll see in the Sun,
Yep.
I explained that Andrew is in some of these videos with more than
Yeah,
one minor.
I've seen that.
And not only that, Jeffrey told me that Andrew is his Super Bowl trophy, was his exact words he used to describe Andrew. He owned Prince Andrew. He owned him. And whoever's got those things to this day owns Prince Andrew.
And his whole involvement just gets squashed. They don't want anyone talking about that. So silence on that situation.
Well, to hear other groups
reasons.
that dig into this say that's because the global elite, the wealthiest people on the planet, are involved or messing around with children for not only sexual gratification, but also some people allege, and I don't, it could be like some kind of children sacrifice and really horrible things going on beyond that with even younger ones. So a lot of these people can be charged too under what they call the Mann Act. That's bringing any woman across state lines for immoral purposes in this country. So you're bringing a minor to his property in Zorro Ranch or wherever that was. He had a ranch. He had property in the Virgin Islands, St. John's Island or something like that. Anybody was involved with moving these kids around. Who's on those flights? All these celebrities, Alan Dershowitz, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. Anybody that helped move these kids around or is on these films that they have them.
I can't believe how deep this whole thing goes. It's so shocking.
Yeah.
Sickening.
I think if they charge Hillary or Bill right now, I think Biden is so out of his mind right now, he'll probably just write a pardon for everybody, be done with it, because I can't say him staying in office much longer in the condition he's in, where it's hard for him to form a full sentence. I think he's slipping into, senility. But it's just you have
Seems
to
like there's
the
something
picture.
wrong with him. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary because nobody can afford anything in this country anymore, and
It is scary.
When he showed weakness to Putin, he invaded. This children being blown up because of the weakness that we showed when this was the build up to the invasion. And now look at the gas prices. Look, imagine your kids getting blown into little pieces.
William, it's such a weird time in our world right now. It really is.
It's a dangerous time. It's truly everything's dangerous time. But how much worse does it get when, this Putin thinks it's okay to invade another country and nobody stepped up to stop this guy before it started. They had the intelligence that he was going to do it. They knew it was about to happen.
Yeah, good point.
The only thing Biden did was a press conference announcing, "Oh, we know you're going to invade." Well, that's not what you do. You stop him. You pull the plug on all his money and you put troops in place immediately. All he did was give him a warning in a press conference, and that's not good enough when you can't appease a dictator. That they tried that with I think that was Chamberlain did that with Hitler, and look what happened. They tried to appease him, and nobody stopped him until Churchill and the United States stepped up.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, Potato. Do you have any other questions for him?
You answered a lot of my questions already, to be honest.
I know. Buy the book, guys. I mean, seriously.
There's a lot of information, yeah.
I had no idea that every question that we would have, you addressed in the book. So you did cover a lot of ground in your book.
Right, and there's a lot more, and there's also additional stuff that I can't talk about right just yet. But I would like to say what I've been doing since I came out of prison. Besides writing these books.
Tell us what you've been up to.
So in all my books in the beginning, I have a quote, "All that's needed for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing," by Edmund Burke. And so I used to be that good man, and I became this really bad guy, stealing and trafficking in drugs and guns. And so I put that in my book now as a reminder of what really needs to be done. Good people need to step up against these pedophiles and against people like Putin and all that. And so, I would ask people to learn more about what I'm doing and support me. If you check out the TV show on A&E Network, I can't say much about the episodes, but it's really interesting what's going on. And then, but also you can go to official William Steele on Instagram and YouTube, and please subscribe to my channel. It's very important. I'm trying to build subscribers up. I'm only out 14 months. And once you hit a certain mark, you can do other things with your channels. So I'm working towards that. And I know once my show airs on A&E, it's just going to explode.
You're going to blow up, William.
Yeah, it's definitely going to.
That happened with my Sean Atwood interview. All of a sudden, I picked up like 150 subscribers. I'm selling books like crazy. So it's really meaningful.
A&E,
it's really meaningful.
You're gonna get up there.
Yeah, it's really meaningful that people.
So don't forget about us little guys, William.
I can come back, and I just want to say that we're working on cold case homicides, and so we're trying to help people that are wrongfully incarcerated, like Dr. Leslie Marlin Scholl, Dave Reinhardt, and then the cold case homicides. You have Blake Van Delson in Indiana, you have Brianna Nugent Nix, and the Fresno case in California, homicide of Larry Revis. He was evidently murdered to cover up for the crimes the stockbroker was committing against him. And another case in Elkhart, Trina McCreary, again, her boyfriend, was this FBI informant that was posing as a biker and all this, and then ripping people off. And when they threatened to go to authorities, he would get them locked up or kill them allegedly. So we're working on that, and I'm working on that with my fiance, Dr. Mary Bass, and soon to have my last name, so that's pretty cool.
I would love to host you and Dr. Mary sometime if you would be willing to come back together.
Mary? She said,
yay! We like Mary.
She'll get more followers than me. She's beautiful.
I know. We like you too, William, but we think Mary's pretty cool as well.
Definitely. I've watched your interviews together, and they're really interesting. So yeah, that would be great if you could,
oh gosh, she's so personable. She is really. I don't mind being in front of the camera now because I realize what I'm saying and what I'm revealing is dangerous, and the only way to stay safe is to stay constantly in the media about it. And for her, she's a data scientist and a fraud examiner and a forensic accountant. She's a civilian fraud examiner. And so she's really behind the scenes. I'll give you an example. She's right now compiling, I don't know how much I want to say on here, but all kind of money laundering evidence surrounding Ghislaine Maxwell, Terramar. She's an expert in nonprofits. She's light years above me in intelligence. She got into UC Berkeley at 15 years old. That gives you an idea.
Dang, Mary. She's a genius.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm from the streets of Brooklyn, She said, you're not from the streets. You had a good family. But so she's a brainiac, and I love her. She's also she's my right hand. So
that's awesome.
Appreciate the invite. I'll be more than happy to come back, and I have numerous other interviews lined up. And this one, as you know, our friend Andy Tillett from the National Enquirer put together. I've been in the Enquirer several times. They've always treated me good.
Yep.
And
much love to Andy. Thanks for hooking us up.
Thank you, Andy. Shout out to Tom and Peter Tickton and my whole support team. I just so grateful. A lot of these guys came into my life while I was in prison. When they saw, my backstory, and I was very persistent. My co-author, Gary Greenberg, happened to be jury foreman. I went and testified for the defense. I knew this young kid was getting framed in Palm Beach. And I testified for the defense, and I explained how his co-defendant was framing him, and was able to prove it. And Gary happened to be the jury foreman while he was working for the National Enquirer. And so after they acquitted this kid, an 18-year-old, he was getting set up for a murder he didn't commit.
Wow.
So there was that case, and then I was involved with a case in Miami. Well, it was actually a Hollywood, Florida case where a guy was falsely imprisoned for killing a police officer. And I was able to find the evidence that another guy did it. A jail deputy actually murdered this police officer.
Oh, wow.
And they had these corrupt detectives in South Florida beat false confessions out of these 16-year-old two black kids that were out at nighttime riding their bikes. They had nothing to do with it, but to get out of the police department, they confessed to it.
They said what they wanted to hear.
Right. So myself and ATF, everybody came up with evidence of this other guy doing it. And the federal judge, after many years, finally freed Tim Brown. So there's been different things that I've been involved with over the years.
That's awesome.
So that's going to be in my next series of books coming out, more about my life and things that we've been involved with.
You're a very interesting character, William Steele.
Very.
It's a miracle I'm alive. I can't say I'm unscathed.
For real. No, seriously, it's an honor to meet you.
So great talking about all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for you to come out like with all of this stuff and still be breathing. I mean, I'm not trying to be morbid here, but it's scary stuff. It really is.
Look
I commend you for standing up for what's right.
You guys are not publicly aware of the amount of people that have already died doing close to what I'm doing. And just the two that you're aware of, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Mary always corrects me. Jean-Luc. Right.
Jean-Luc.
He gets arrested. Supposed suicide. I knew him also. Supposed suicide in France in jail cell. Over all this that he's involved with these people. Jeffrey.
I'm wondering if you're going to send over some security to South Florida. I'm just kidding. Or maybe to England.
I got a feeling you covered sensitive cases before.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it really is an honor to speak with you, with everything that you've witnessed and gone through, and succumbed. I just think that you're very interesting, and I see a lot of people in chat saying I can't wait to read the book. So we have definitely thrown that link in the chat, so everybody has it. The links are in the description of the video. And he's got it right there. I love it. That picture is insane, the one in the middle of her.
My subtitle is Sensational and Impure, and because that's what a judge referred to this whole case as. So that's why I thought that was a great subtitle.
Sensational and Impure. Yeah.
I used Sensational and Impure, Ghislaine, Sensational and Impure by William Steele. And it was good because I called her G. I couldn't pronounce her name either. I was actually going to name this the G-Spot, but then I figured that would be inappropriate.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of appropriate, though. I mean, when you think about it.
And then this one, a Sex and the Serial Killer, about my association briefly with Robert Durst. I just redid this cover. This was reissued last week.
Oh, nice.
And that details.
And that's on Amazon as well?
They're both on Amazon on William Steele. Sex and the Serial Killer. My Bizarre Times, Robert Durst. Stay tuned. A&E Network, August 18th, prime time. I think it's going to air at 10 p.m.
8/18/22. Yep, 8/18 is the day. So we'll all be watching.
Everybody can see the trailer. You'll see me in the trailer, a couple of different clips of me. I had put on a lot of weight because of COVID, so I'm like,
you look great, William.
Everyone should go and watch the trailer because it's really interesting. It really made me want to go and watch it, so I can't wait until.
Oh my God, they did a phenomenal job. The trailer's phenomenal. I contacted the producer and I said, "Man, that's way better than I expected." But what do you expect from A&E? They're the best.
A&E's awesome. I mean, that's what I was just gonna say. You don't really get much better than that. So,
that's right.
Congratulations on that show. We will be watching, and I look forward to having you back. You and Miss Mary.
Okay. Yeah. She's shaking her head yes. So
yay! We love you, Mary.
I love you all. She said she loves you all.
Awesome. Well, is there
was nice
anything else
meeting
that
you.
you wanted to say, William, before you go?
I can give props to a show I'm going to be on tomorrow. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
going to be on I'm going to be on a program called Aquarius South Africa Rising on YouTube. She's in South Africa, and she covers a lot of these same topics, and she's
Nice.
really big at going after these trafficking rings. And she wants to have me on tomorrow. I think she's going to do a series of shows. I should be scheduled for another Sean Atwood program here in the next few weeks.
Very cool.
And numerous others. I can't even remember most of them right now.
Yeah, we're going to have to check out that live. Is it tomorrow, you said?
Tomorrow at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Eastern.
U.S.
Coffee?
I think it's 6 hours ahead in South Africa. So on her time, it'll be, I don't know.
Aquarius, South Africa Rising.
Are you in London? Are you in London, Dee?
I'm not in London, no. I'm in the middle of the country.
Okay, because everybody else that I know. Also, Hidden Existence is another really good one. She gave me a good start when I first got out and this book first came out. That's Daniela from Hidden Existence. I like to give her and Kerry from Lady Justice. So you guys can subscribe to Lady Justice. That's Kerry. She fights for victims, victim advocacy.
Love that.
Against child abuse and all that. And then
Love
Kerry does a Bigfoot Odyssey show, but she also has, I think, 40,000 subscribers there. Daniela on Bigfoot Odyssey. But then she has another channel with topics that are like this. They run the gamut, and she had me on there, and she's actually the one that started trying to school me on how to do this and start doing other interviews before I was even allowed to talk about my TV show.
Oh, nice.
Now that the network released it, I can freely talk about it.
You've had a lot of people that have stood by you and helped you out. You're extremely lucky.
Yeah, I look at it as completely blessed. I don't deserve it, and I'm just so grateful.
I'm going to check out those channels, though. I'm always looking for other true crime channels or, channels that cover missing people and things like that aren't doing a bunch of drama, because YouTube has a lot of drama channels, and I don't like to get into that drama when I'm trying to focus on a case. So thank you for throwing out those names. You know
what's crazy is that I got to know some of these family members, like Paula Turkovic's mom, Kathleen, and she was murdered and was forced to write something, and it was to a book, but it was a book the mother knew that the message she was sending is that I'm being murdered, I'm being forced to write this. And then the other one, Blake Van Delson in Indiana, he was found, they ruled it a suicide, even though he was found 10 miles from the house in the snow with both hands in his pocket. And they ruled it a suicide with a bullet to the head. So we got to know some of these family members since I got out of prison. Now, when I was in prison, I'm associating with guys who were bragging about what they like to do with kids and minors and who they killed and serial killers. And now I'm getting to know the victims on the other side. And the amount of gratitude I'm getting is way better than me looking over my shoulder because I just hit a mansion in Palm Beach and I have a bunch of jewelry that I can't tell anybody about.
Yeah.
Looking over your shoulder all the time for the cops, the FBI, whoever's looking for it.
Dude, that's got to be stressful.
It's way more rewarding, this life that I'm doing now, and I'm just so grateful for all the support.
Oh, well, good for you. We are really happy to have you here, and I'm really happy to share out your stuff. So
I appreciate
it was a pleasure.
Thank you, ladies.
All right.
See you again. Bye.
We'll see you, and much love to Miss Mary.
Bye, Mary.
You take care, Mary. All right. Good night, William.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Good night.